Good afternoon, Delaware Valley. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. And again, we work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team since 2018. If you want to get in touch with the show, email us info@tooletimeradio.com. And what we're going to start talking about is a new task force that was created by the Biden administration. And this is our first topic today. We're also going to chat about what happens when you don't put your home on the MLS and August mindset for a lot of the realtors out there and just people in general that run businesses, because I mean, it's I think it's something that's really relevant here. So the new task force, Stacey, it's the Property Appraisal and Valuation Equity Task Force. And Susan Rice is going to be the co-chair here. And what they are tasked with from the Biden administration, they have to deliver a report within 6 months to describe the extent, causes, and consequences of undervaluing properties, according to a HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development Official, in a report with Housing Wire, the mortgage and real estate news source. We can get into the article here. What do you think about all this? What's your first reaction?
Well, it's another task force. And I don't know if they'll deliver the report in 6 months. Maybe it'll be a year, because you know how these government undertakings go. But
I think they could go back in time and be faster.
Exactly.
Keep going.
But I thought it was interesting, especially as you dig deeper into, the reason why they're spearheading this. I guess they're in most recent time, there's been a handful of appraisal complaints. Prior to that, though, there hasn't been many complaints of appraisal bias. So from 2019 to 2020, HUD received only 12 complaints of appraisal bias. That was reported by the Washington Post. So I'm not sure where, all these complaints and the necessary need for this, major task force to investigate these appraisal and valuation equity discrepancies. But I'll be curious to see what's in the report and how that pans out.
There's two ways I look at this story, and it's a little different than what you might think. Where if you look at Susan Rice, she spent much of her career in foreign policy. She has made racial equity central to her domestic policy agenda, and days into her tenure as the DPC chair, which is the Domestic Policy Council, which was formed and by President Biden and chaired by her, she has really drawn a lot of attention to the racial home ownership gap. And I what this task force is being formed for, and what I'm clear would be the better use, are two very different things. What I've seen here is that that they're looking at systemic racism and inequality, and a lot of neighborhoods where there's minority families living, they're being undervalued compared to others, and I think that's the complaint here from what I read from the report. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that's the real issue here. I think there's a bigger issue with the appraisal industry in general, like we've talked about. Right. And they also have some complaints about the makeup of the industry. They call the appraisal industry, quote, white and aging. Mm-hmm. That's not me. This is what they said. And but what you said was right on, that Housing Wire, there's little hard evidence here that these appraisals are a significant driver in wealth gaps between neighborhoods. There's not a lot of evidence to that. There's only been 12 complaints. Mm-hmm. You think about the number of home sales that happen annually in the country. So just to give you, let me do some Google research here while we're on the show. Number of home sales per year in the U.S. And what comes up is, in 2019, there was 5.34 million homes that were sold. So if they're only reporting 12 of those,
right?
I mean that's, and there's always going to be complaints. I don't want to make light of this,
right?
I just don't know that that's really the case with appraisals, given the controls that are already in place with the federal government. So we've got all these resources being thrown at this issue. I mean, so moving forward, I mean, what do you think anything's going to come out of this report, or is there a better use of these people's time, resources, and taxpayer money? To be very clear,
I can't figure out what would be their problem solving solution here. Depending on what the report finds, what the report says, what is the end game? What is going to be the solution to this issue? Like you said, I think there's probably areas that could the money and the energy could be better spent. But in this article, it was kind of vague, especially on some of the one in particular, the one complaint that they talked about. There was an Oakland woman who filed a complaint with HUD, and she claimed that her home was appraised for more than $400,000 less than its appraised value 6 months later. So, but they didn't detail it. It didn't go into any explanation. There was no context of this complaint. So I would really like some more information, some more context to better understand what this is all about.
Well, that's a major issue, and but the issue that she's talking about, I don't know that that's a racial inequality issue.
Right.
I'm clear it's an appraiser issue, and that's the problem here.
Right.
And what I mean by that is we've seen in the transactions that we've done, and we work all over Delaware County, all over Chester County, in the city of Philadelphia, and we're a pretty diverse area. Just when you look at statistics, it's just an observation. The bigger issue here that I see is that there is not enough innovation in the appraisal industry. You can see wildly different appraisals, not even within 4 months or 3 months, within days if they get a better appraiser in there. And
exactly.
One of the issues I see is that appraisers don't make enough money because they don't attract talent to the industry, yet they play such a critical role in, well, this mortgage isn't going to get approved, or they're going to have to come up with more money, even though they were, the buyer was approved for X or Y, or with refinances. So my view is that I like the idea of a task force around appraisers, because we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and a lot of times these guys come in there with they're almost an agenda, or an intention to undervalue properties because they don't have the data and they don't want to do the work. I would love to see the Property Appraisal and Valuation Equity Task Force look at innovating the industry as a whole. How do we attract talent? Because if you want to talk about jobs, these appraisers cannot do things on time. I mean, how many times have you had a sale delayed because the appraiser was unresponsive or didn't get everything done in time, and it jeopardized a lot of people's lives? The seller, the buyer, who knows what other home people are buying afterwards. This is a common thing, right? It's
a common thing. Absolutely. Typically it should be a 48-hour turnaround once the appraiser comes out to the home and issues their report. And it has been a week, 7 to 10 days where we haven't received a report. So it can be a real problem. The other issue also is that I had an experience where an appraisal was done via desktop from Dallas, Texas, on a house that's situated in southern Chester County. So I think that's a pretty major issue there. If you're doing a desktop appraisal from a different state, that person doesn't know the true market in the local area, and they're just pulling, comps and other stats right off the computer. So that was a real problem for me because it did come in lower. So obviously that was not a racial issue. It was an appraiser issue.
Well, and when you look at any sort of investment or any sort of large asset purchase, appraisers are so limited by guidelines. They can use 3 homes within a certain amount of a radial search of the subject property within a certain amount of time. A lot of neighborhoods, especially in our marketplace, some of the best neighborhoods, homes don't sell for 2, 3, 4 years because people don't want to move. So when this happens, and you look at some of the neighborhoods like we're talking about, there's a big difference between this street over here, and let's say it's in, let's take Lower Marion, for example, because there's so many different towns there. people will pay more for the Gladwin zip code than they will for the Narberth or Penn Valley zip code or the Wynwood zip code. So there's intricacies here that we know as agents, and if there's not anything that's sold, and let's say it's a home in Gladwin, but they're looking at properties that are in some of these other areas, well, what's going to end up happening is they're not going to have an accurate valuation. Even in Philadelphia, if you're on the you're on the north or south side of Girard Avenue, I mean, that's a big deal for a lot of people. I mean, that's just how it is. And but there's places like this all over the country. This is not just isolated to Philadelphia. Right. You could say the same thing about Washington Avenue on the south side. It used to be South Street. I mean, things have changed dramatically with some of the development going on in the city. And the point is that they can't make adjustments for that, but they can make adjustments for square footage. But you're not comparing the location. There is no location adjustment in these appraisals. And while I'm no doubt there's probably some issue here that has to do with racial bias. I mean, I'm sure that I don't want to make light of this because there's been studies done with realtors and things that have happened. Long Island Exposed, for example.
Yes.
The bigger issue here to me is that the appraisal industry is broken because they will not innovate and they will not adjust. And that to me is what this task force should be focusing on, not another, okay, here's what's going on, because I just don't see it happening. I mean, 12 reported complaints out of 5+ million sales. I mean, that's the data here. And sure, you could look in and go granular. And if there was a better system for appraisals, you wouldn't have this issue in the first place. It's not just a racial issue. It's a problem with the appraisal industry that affects a ton of people.
That is true. Absolutely. So I believe that the appraisal industry is ready for some shakeup, some disruption. So who would be out there getting ready to disrupt the appraisal industry?
Well, I think that's the thing is that you look at how people are getting disrupted right now, and there's got to, I mean, this might be where the government needs to step in because they really regulate this. They have, I mean, if you look at some of the rest of the story here, so the Appraisal Institute, the appraisal industry's primary trade organization, so the National Association of Realtors for Appraisers, they didn't acknowledge any racial bias, but in the last year, they recognized that there is some degree of unconscious valuation bias, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yep.
And they went on to further say that they need increased training on unconscious bias, recruiting more. Now, they said more minorities into the field. I think they just need to recruit more people into the field, period, and reviewing data on potential bias. Because as realtors, we have to go through this all the time. Fair housing is something we're constantly getting trained on. So they haven't come out and said there's systemic racism within the industry. They need better valuation systems. I mean, and they need to look at these bias issues because, if it's not, and you're talking about Dallas appraisers on a desktop, or we can take it even more granular where someone from the next county over, let's say you're coming from Bucks County, going down to Delaware County, well, that's a different world down there. Different. And that's because every market is super local. So the only thing I see here is that if the government really wants to do something, instead of focusing on this part of the problem, I think they need to fix the whole system. And, it's tough for a company to come in and say, we're going to disrupt the appraisal industry. Like, I mean, and this is where the best businesses are formed, because if you solve a problem, then you have a business. So, my issue is with the industry as a whole. I mean, you look at the Oakland woman complaining there. I think it was just a bad appraisal. I mean, that's the issue here. So, what kind of guidelines would you want to see to fix this problem? Because this is something that appraisers, they just can't do it right now. They're not allowed to. They get scored on every appraisal.
Yeah, that's interesting. I definitely think that appraisers should be locally based, and they should know that local market where they're working and where they've been commissioned to work. I think that is very important so that you do recognize those differences with zip codes. Same thing out in Chester County. People are willing to pay more for the Unionville Chadds Ford zip code than the Kennett Square zip code. It is what it is. So I think that's really, really important that appraisers should be locally based when they're out doing the appraisals in a particular area.
So that's one great innovation. Like, you have a territory you can work, you get approved, or maybe you have to take a test to get approved in some of these other areas. Lisa Rice, the CEO of the National Fair Housing Alliance, in this article, she came out and said that the appraisal industry has not received sufficient attention from federal regulators, and that part of the problem is regulators have been in crisis management mode since the advent of the Great Recession and the foreclosure crisis. And a lot of communities haven't bounced back from that, which is true. I mean, I look at a neighborhood or an area like Upper Darby, where finally we're seeing values go up again, but they were stagnant since 2008. I mean,
it's like Coatesville; they're finally going up.
Yeah, but I mean, they were very stagnant in a lot of ways, and they've been. But you can't make someone pay more for a home like that. That's the thing that a lot of people aren't getting. And she goes on to say that regulators have been focused on trying to address those challenges and making sure the marketplace is secure. And then there's talk of other drivers that also contribute to this. But the point is, I think they've been almost too regulated, like the mortgage industry has been. And now you're seeing the mortgage industry laid off a little bit the past 4, 5, 6 years after that crisis. The appraisal industry has to do the same. And I love your talk, your idea of a local basis, or get approved for the county or area you want to work in. I would take it one step further and also put in an adjustment for time based on appreciation. Because, I mean, if you find the home that sold, say your next door neighbor sold last year, and we know the market's up 10%, give them the latitude to make that sort of adjustment. I mean, that to me is because you're never going to find a better comparable sale than the one right next door. I mean, a lot of these, in some of these planned communities, they're all the same house. And we've seen that's where a lot of people look in some of these areas where the homes are maybe, you got a lot of homes built in the 1940s and there's some new construction down the street. They don't really value them the same. So I would like to see an adjustment for time based on market trends. And maybe the data has to be certified by some sort of national organization where it's, they kind of like when they count the votes after the election, they certify the data points.
Right.
Some sort of certified data along with some sort of local focus. And I mean, to me, that's going to fix the industry. And I mean, obviously compensation and attracting talent's a big problem right now, because these folks and it's mostly men that are appraisers. They get way too many assignments. I mean, they can't really handle it. To give some perspective, the number of appraisers in the U.S. right now, and let's see here, there's so this is as of the end of 2018, 78,000. Which was a decrease of 5%. And they've been decreasing consistently. So for some perspective, there's 1.55 million realtors in the country. Now, 40% of them haven't sold a home through June. So let's do some math here, right?
And then I'll leave that to you.
Well, that's what we have calculators. So we take 1,550, let's say 60% of them. So that's 930,000 sold a home, right?
Okay.
And we know that the average per agent productivity is not that high versus what our team does, what you do, obviously. Let's say, you have 930,000 agents that sold at least one property, and you only have 78,000 appraisers. So you take 930, let's just say, that's 12 transactions. If they all sold one, that means the appraiser has to do 12 appraisals for every one sale. And we know that's not the number.
Right.
So let's look at, again, so we got 5.34 million homes sold, and we've got 78,000 appraisers. Say 2/3 of them have financing, because about 65% of people have a mortgage. So we'll take the 5.34, multiply that by 0.65. So it's 3,471,000 sales in a year. 3,471 divided by 78,000.
Oh my gosh.
They're doing 45 appraisals. And that's, I mean, again, and these aren't, I'm sure the numbers are higher than that. The point is, they don't need more manpower. They need better compensation. It's going to be one of the two. So there are some problems here. So I think that's where the trade organization needs to figure out how to get more people into their industry.
Yes, that's a good call. I really wish. I have a friend who's an appraiser, and he's local in Delaware County. I invited him to come join us, but he's so busy.
Didn't he say he was too busy? Yeah.
He's so busy, but he's a younger guy. He's an African-American. So I really wanted to hear his take on this.
Well, and I mean, unfortunately, I mean, the average age of an appraiser is, I mean, well, let's go to Google again. So, I mean, this is why you have Google, right?
Yep.
GTS. We'll censor that one out. Appraiser age. So the average age of industry appraisers is 40 plus years old.
Okay.
Now it doesn't really. Let's see what we got here. This is from. Yeah, I mean, there's if you look at the numbers here, it's 79% is 79% of the industry is above 40. So, I mean, there's 5% are 20 to 30 years old and 15% are 30 to 40. So,
oh my gosh, wow.
I mean, you talk about disruption. I mean, this is what we're talking about. So, kind of to wrap up the segment here, like the idea of a task force, its purpose is a little misguided based on the statistics. We want to see some sort of local expertise, some sort of certified data set. And the appraisal industry, I mean, they got to bring talent to their industry because
it's going to have to happen soon, because looking at those figures, the majority are 40 plus. Now we don't know, it could be 50 plus or 60 plus. What if they're headed for retirement soon? You're going to have a mass exodus from the appraisal industry. So then what happens?
We'll leave that one for next time. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a really interesting study done by Bright MLS, which is our local MLS, that we're going to discuss about a way homeowners can make more money pretty easily when selling their home. This is Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliance's Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America is equal housing MLS 12850.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to
stand by.
Advantage of these market conditions.
It's my jam.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. Nick Wolf's streaming us live on Facebook and YouTube. Check us out there. It's Tom Toole Sales Group on Facebook and YouTube. And again, we work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. So, and if you got a question for the show, email info@tooletimeradio.com. So this next piece of information we're going to share with you comes from the Bright MLS. So if you don't know what the Bright MLS is, it's the local MLS that we use here in the greater Philadelphia area. To give you some better perspective, it's one of the larger MLSs in the country, and that's the real-time database that realtors use to see what's active under contract, and they're pretty heavily regulated. So the area they cover, because that's all going to be really relevant here, this isn't like some local thing where they looked at like 1 or 2 counties. The MSA for the Bright MLS is the Philadelphia Market Service Area, Baltimore, Washington, D.C. It covers parts of New Jersey, parts of Virginia. So this is a pretty, I mean, you got major cities here. So it's a large MLS to give some perspective. Here is what the study shows, and then I'll kick it to Stacey here, and we can go through this, is that after they looked at 442,829 home sales over a 2-year period, the study revealed that the median sale price for homes marketed through the MLS were 16.98% higher than off MLS sales. And it comes out to a $40,000 difference in terms of
Wow.
sellers' proceeds. So what do you
That's
think about all
big.
this?
That's a big number. 40,000 difference just by your home being on the MLS. That's a huge number. And that is very monumental for sellers. So I think it's really important to understand the benefit of being, having your house listed on the MLS Bright website. I think it's imperative.
Well, I agree with you for a lot of reasons. I mean, we can get into the exposure that you get. What I also wanted to look at is that so in the off MLS and office exclusives, and I think this is something any consumer who's thinking about selling, you've got to be mindful of this because some companies will come in and say, we're going to market it to our office first.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go office exclusive. The only beneficiary there is to the office that's marketing it because they get first opportunity to go sell the property.
Right.
You're not getting a true market value. You can't control which buyers or the buyer who will pay you the most, who they're working with. And and they're not even out there looking and they're waiting for a home on your street to come onto the market, which there's a lot of streets like that in Chester, Delaware, Montgomery counties, along the main line in Philadelphia. So part of this study was that they identified 115,760 homes. So 26% from 2019 through 2020 were sold off MLS. And there was 327,069. So 74% were on MLS. And there are companies out there that say, we're going to bring our people through, or we're going to have a quiet listing so you don't get bothered. And I get that from a not bothering perspective. What I know is you're leaving $40,000 on the table. That's at the mid price points. Right. You're leaving almost 17% on the table. So the companies that come in and say, we're going to do this first, if you're a consumer, ask them for the data that shows how it benefits you and see what they come up with. That being said, I want to define this a little further, and then Stacey, I want to get your take on this overall. So they went on further in this study, and they said the biggest difference was in the mid-sized home, and there was an 18%. So they actually got another percent more, 1.02% more for a mid-sized home, and they identify a mid-sized home as anywhere between 1,247 up to 2,150 square feet, and they said you even got a bigger bounce there. And the interesting thing I found is that these office exclusives, where they want to market to the people within their brokerage first, 63% of them end up on the MLS. So it only works maybe 1/3 of the time. What do you think about all this? You're a consumer out there. You're thinking about selling. How should that person be interpreting this data?
The big takeaway, the bottom line, the bottom number. The on average $40,000 that you potentially could be leaving on the table. So that's a big number, and it has to be considered. So when the consumers are interviewing agencies to represent the sale of the home, you really have to ask these questions and find out, where are they marketing? Where is my listing going to appear? I think it's very, very important. Also, the time comparison findings I found interesting. Homes entered on the MLS from the start went under contract faster than properties that started as an office exclusive. So on the MLS, it was an average of 11 days compared to office exclusive listings that eventually ended up being promoted through the MLS, as you said, but it took a combined average of about 31 days to get a contract.
I think of the sellers here in that what it's like showing your property. Possibly one of the worst parts of any real estate process. A lot of times agents don't have any pre-marketing that goes on. That's something that I'm a big believer in. There's a way to do that to ramp activity up. So it's maybe a painful 5 days instead of painful 11 or painful 31. And, having all these people come in and out of your home. There's a pandemic that's winding down, right? That's an issue we didn't even deal with before.
Right.
People coming into your house. Having to keep the home unnaturally clean because nobody lives like that. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, actually, there are some people that do. I shouldn't say that, but the majority of people
live in their homes.
They live in their home, and it's not ready for the market because it's going to look a little different. It's like when you have company come over, right? You clean up, you throw all the crap in the closet. That's kind of the same thing. So for those folks that want a better process, not only to have it be less stressful, but also take less time, and sell for more.
Right. It's a no-brainer.
The data is clear here. And what I find really interesting, and this was the person who kind of headed up the survey for Bright. His name was, let me get to it here. So he was where was it? Totally lost it. That's okay. So the CEO of Bright, excuse me. So the CEO of Bright, Brian Donnellan, he's the president and CEO. They went through, and it's, to me, I don't even think there's like anything to talk about here. Like this is just so clear that if your goal is to get as much money as you can, if you try to sell for sale by owner, right? Yeah. And you want to just save on costs, like, yeah, your costs are going to be lower.
Right.
You're leaving at least 10% on the table, if not more. Correct. I mean, that's use 10% as a number. If you want to take it one step further and you want to buy into the office exclusive, we're going to market it to our people first. Well, how many people are at that company versus how many realtors are in the area? Are you getting to all the buyers? Is the exposure at its max? I don't even think there's much to talk about here. I mean, this is just a no-brainer. Now, what I will say is that if you're someone that doesn't want to deal with the stress of putting your home on the market, or you need the money really quickly, I mean, you're probably not going this. You might work with an investor or something like that. There is a service for that. I don't want to say there's not. This to me is, I mean, it's just it's simple data. So, what should sellers be asking if they get presented with some of these options in these interviews? Because we know that everyone's fighting for listings right now. They're trying to differentiate themselves. What should sellers be doing to show or to ensure they're not leaving their equity on the table and leaving money on the table? Because that's a big challenge right now. I see people do it all the time if they don't market their property in the correct manner.
People considering for sale by owner really need to investigate that further and think hard and long about if you want to do a for sale by owner, because the majority of the time, you are leaving money on the table. For sellers considering interviewing agencies, you definitely have to find out about their marketing plan. What are they doing? Where is your home going to appear? Are they doing the 3-step plan, putting the sign in the yard, popping it on the MLS and waiting for a buyer to come? Or are they going to actually reach out to buyers through other types of marketing, like social media marketing, definitely on the MLS? So I think you really have to interview each agency and find out what is their marketing plan.
Well, I love that answer because, I mean, there's a company out there. I mean, very specifically, they say, oh, we got this coming soon program and we're going to market it to our people first. And that's a great way to attract buyers. I get that. But it's such a disservice to the seller. I mean, this data proves it. And then 2/3 of the time, it doesn't even work. I mean, if I fail 2/3 of the time, wow, I'm getting fired, right? So, I I think any of us are here, Nick included, right? So I'm kidding. But you get the point. I mean, that's a high failure rate. So, when you say, what's your marketing plan? I mean, it's got to be detailed and it's got to be specific. And if you don't have a marketing plan as an agent, to me, that's where you got to connect with the right operation or the right organization that will. And if you're kind of struggling for that or searching for that, or you don't know what to do and you want to get into the business, it's a great opportunity to talk about our real estate scholarship program, where we are bringing people on, we're paying for their licenses, and we're training them the right way so you can be like Stacey and sell 48 homes in your first 12 months. So that's realestatescholarshipprogram.com is the site. Back to the off MLS study. I mean, this is where, and we've talked about this so many times, that it's so easy to leave money on the table in a market like this, where there's low inventory and rates are low. And there's all these reasons that people are buying no matter what. If you don't take it to the market, I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean,
it's a lot of money, right?
That's about 1/2 of the median income in our marketplace this year. So if you want to take half of your income and just throw it out the window, go with an office exclusive or go for sale by owner.
Right. And good luck. The house will sell in this market eventually, but you are going to be leaving money on the table. I mean, it's proven right here in the data. But back to the marketing plan, you'll want to see results too. Ask for the companies, where are the results? How are your sales? And, what is your track record? I think that's important also.
Yes. And if there's no plan in place, I mean, Ben Franklin said, if you don't have a plan, then you're preparing to fail, or failure to prep is prepping to fail, or proper preparation prevents poor performance. We've heard all these things before. So if that's where, and there's also a big difference between a listing agent and someone that's working with buyers and is only working with buyers. It's a totally different process. Yes. So you've got to look at the resources they have behind them. Do they have professional photography? Do they have a marketing director that's going to be able to execute ads on a high level? Do they understand how to advertise and leverage social media? Are they using technology to get people to sign into their open houses so they can follow up with them instead of just letting them in and not collecting any information?
Right.
Do they have, relationships or the right exposure with Zillow and Realtor and these other major portals? There's all these questions you should be asking, because if you don't ask those questions and the home sells and it sells fast, you probably feel pretty good. It's just, you're going to leave money on the table. And to me, this Bright MLS study, everyone should be going over this right now and understanding these numbers, because our job as agents, and for all the consumers listening, this is what you should be looking for in an agent. Don't forget about using us, just any agent you want to talk to. Your job as an agent is to guide people through the process. You're not there to be the hero. You're not there to save the day or beat the villain. You're there to guide them through the process so they can have a great result. Whether it's selling a home, because most people do this every 11, 12 years now, whether it's buying a home, you've got to get the right information. And the challenge for consumers is everyone talks about real estate like they're an expert. And not a lot of people have this data and know what's actually going on. I mean, how many times do you run into that?
Oh, every day, almost every day. That's for sure. Yeah. Everybody knows real estate, but they don't know real estate. It's funny how that is.
So how do you help consumers get there? Because some people, they're a little skeptical. They think all we want to do is sell another house, and one of our core values is service and helping people. That's why I got into the business. I know that's why you got into the business as well, Stacey. So how do you help them get there without coming off that I just want to sell you a house? Because that's the reputation realtors have, and you know what? We got to work with these people. So I get it. Right. I understand why there's this reputation, but I also know there's another way to do this.
Yeah. Well, you have to build trust. And in doing that, you just want to bring all the information to the clients, all the information to the consumer, right out in black and white. You want to educate them about the process. Like you said, if it's 10 to 12 years since they're selling, reintroduce them to how it works so that they are going to feel more comfortable. Go over the contracts. If it's been a long time since they've seen the paperwork, go through it, each and every document, so that they have a real clear understanding, their questions are answered, and they feel comfortable and trust you that you know what you're doing. I think that's really important.
If you don't trust your agent, it's time to find a new one.
Yes.
And the best agents may not work well with you. You've got to find someone you believe in and you can trust in. You can trust, because these are major financial decisions. I mean, I look at an agent the same way I look at my financial advisor. I call them and ask them what I should do. I don't call and I tell them what my goals are, and then they give me guidance. Same thing with your accountant, right?
Yes.
Here's what my goal is. What should I do? What do you think? What are the laws? Same thing with an attorney. If you're trying to form a business or do something. So the challenge is, a lot of realtors don't look at it that way. And that's the difference between a good agent and a great agent. Because a good agent, they'll tell you sometimes what they think you want to hear, so you'll hire them, right? The great agent gives you all the news no matter what, so you can make a really well-informed decision for your household and your family.
Right.
So,
there's a difference.
And that's why this data is so important, because it's the agent's job to get this out there. Because if someone told me, hey, you do this one thing, and you're going to make 40 grand, and you're already making this huge financial decision, I'm in. That's all I need to hear. Not everyone's going to feel that way. So, to me, you got to understand this data, know it, be able to communicate it as an agent. And if you're listening to this as a consumer, just ask for a copy of the study. This isn't coming from us. This is coming from the Bright MLS. And there's Dr. Kevin Gillen, who's a senior research fellow at the Lindy Institute for Urban Innovation at Drexel, who provided a lot of this here. And we've also got Dr. Eisenberg, who is Elliot Eisenberg, who's a senior economist with the National Association of Home Builders. So, there's a lot of experts looking at this stuff that aren't realtors. They came up with this study, not us. So really important data to know. 17%, maybe 18%. It's a lot of money. 40 grand on the line. That's all you need to know if you're selling. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about realtors and the month of August and how to stay motivated.
Got it.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America's equal housing number, NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliance's Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last
20 seconds,
now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3.
5 seconds, stand by.
Alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB-AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. And again, we work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. You got a question for the show? Email us, info@tooletimeradio.com. So our last segment here, there are 21 days left in the month of August.
I can't believe that. Where did it go already?
Compared to last year, I'm happy that things are moving a little faster than what we saw. So,
for sure.
But time does move fast, and that's because you're rocking and rolling and busy, and you're working on your mindset, Stacey, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about here, because we've really got 90 days until the end of the fiscal year in real estate. I mean, it's really 90 days, because if you look at, you got September, October, November, past November 15th, what's everyone doing? They're eating turkey.
Yep.
They're playing football.
Mm-hmm.
They're buying presents. They're doing all sorts of stuff. And to me, the fourth quarter is where you really see winners win at a high level. And I'm sure we'll talk about that on the show here in the future. In the meantime, and this was inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk, who did a video 5 years ago that's still as relevant as it is today, that you get a lot of people in the month of August. And I'm going to use his words, not mine. They're by the pool. They're sipping margaritas. They're drinking rosé. They're going to the beach, hanging out at the Jersey Shore. Whatever they're doing, they've let their foot off the gas. And you've got to think about where you are in your business, if that's the right move for you or not. Because this time of year, it's really when you can take market share. You can make things happen. You can force the issue and work on your master plan, just like the fourth quarter, because that's the other time of year when people always take their foot off the gas. You've probably seen it the real estate office is always, January 3rd, everyone's in there. New year, new me. Let's roll. And I'm looking at them like I've been grinding since November. Right. And really, it's a 12-month-a-year thing. And this isn't a new year, because anything you sell in December is not going to close until January anyway. Maybe you squeeze one or two more in. So, the flip side of that is, if you are happy with where you are and you're way ahead of your goals, now's maybe a time to take a little bit of a reset before that last fourth quarter sprint, because it's really like a 90-day sprint. And people don't always think that way. And a lot of people say, hey, I'm tired right now. Or, it's human nature to mail it in and internally. And, the reality is the competition and other realtors are also mailing it in this time of year. So, and we talked about this on our coaching call today with our coach, Jeff Mays, with Tom Ferry. I talked about it with my own coach personally. I mean, this is something that's always on my mind this time of year. So what do you think about all this, Stacey? Because last August was not like this. Last August was very different, because we were stuck in our houses for 60 days. And a lot of people, a lot more than that. What's your take on this? You watched the video. You're on the coaching call. What should other agents be thinking about right now? And what are you doing personally? Because you have one of the most bulletproof mindsets I've seen. And every day I continue to get impressed. So I want to hear what you're doing at this point right now.
Well, at the beginning of the year, I set some big goals for myself. So that being said, I know where I have to be and why I have to be there. So, and that's mindset. I go back to what is my inspiration? What is my motivation? And I keep that dream board right behind me every single day because that is what's driving me. So it is mindset. And for me, the month of August is going to be a time to definitely put the pedal to the metal because I feel that I could have an advantage in the marketplace at this point. If other agents are, I look at their Instagrams and they're on vacation, they're enjoying themselves, and that's fine that if they're happy where they are at this point. But for me, it's going to be a little different because I do have big goals and I'm just going to keep, setting myself up for this next 90-day sprint so that I can achieve my goals. So that's really where my mindset is at this point.
Well, and the reason you can say that is because you also track and measure your business.
Totally.
Unlike most agents who have no idea what is going on in their, they don't know if they made more money this year than last year.
True.
They don't know how many homes they sold half the time. So you track and measure your business. You keep track of it. You're relentless with it, which, obviously I'm a big believer in, and, we've that's why we work well together because we think alike. I'd also say for the consumer out there, consumers are giving up right now. They're saying, I'm just going to wait till next year. You already hear people talking about it.
Yep.
This same advice, if you're trying to find a house in one of the more competitive markets that are out there, and there's some incredible things happening because you're going to see homes continue to appreciate, I would not be giving up right now. I'd be actively looking. I'd be talking to my agent, hey, I'm going on vacation this week. If a home comes up and I'm not here, I need you to get your butt over to the house, FaceTime me, and I will be there, and I'm ready to make an offer sight unseen because I know that's the kind of market that we're in, and I'm ready to make that jump because most people aren't taking like a 2-week vacation. So, and because you're now able to get inspection contingencies accepted again, that's become a thing.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm not saying it's a one-off. It's pretty common to see an inspection contingency now because that's happening. You still got the ability to control the house and get into the property. And if you're a seller, to me, now is the time to get your home on the market so you're not dealing with all the forthcoming inventory that's going to be hitting September, October, November. So the same advice to me, not only with your, and you're right on and you're spot on there, but consumers need to be thinking about it, especially buyers and sellers, because the people that get ahead of the market, whether it's the agent or the consumer, they're the ones that win.
Winners.
They're the ones that win every time.
Right.
The people that are late to the party and they're trying to capture some of that magic, they're always the one chasing the market down. And again, that goes for agents or for consumers. Are you seeing the same thing, or tell me more about that?
I'm definitely seeing the same thing. And it's interesting you brought that point up about if you're a consumer. Case study happened to me yesterday. A buyer, very serious. She's going on vacation. She specifically told me what week. And I have already done video tours for her when she was away. But we have already pre-planned that if anything comes up during that week she's away, I'm going to jump out there and do a video tour just like we did before. So see, that's both of us being very aggressive. So I think it's going to be successful because I truly believe as soon as she goes away, her house is going to come on the market, but she's ready to move. But yeah, for consumers, take advantage of this so-called quote downtime in August because, a little less competition if other people are vacationing. So definitely don't, take your foot off the gas. Just continue to move forward, especially buyers. Right now is a great opportunity.
Yeah, and sellers, I mean, I'd be meeting with agents now to get your home prepped because it's going to take a couple weeks to get it on the market.
Yeah.
The challenge I see with a lot of sellers is they call the agent and they're like, we want to be on the market tomorrow. And that's great.
Yep.
But what we just last talked about with, you could be risking, a significant amount of equity here, 16 to 18%. It was 16.98, so it's really 17. You could be risking that amount of money going off market or going on your own if you don't have the right launch plan where there's excitement being built, you're engaging all the realtors. That's something that taking 2 to 3 weeks to schedule to get your home on the market in advance, get a staging team in like we have at our team, get the right photos and video done, take time writing up the description, getting room dimensions, which I've seen still very few agents put the room dimensions in. And I've got an interesting case study about that I'll share in a second. Those sort of steps to prep. So maybe you want to wait until after Labor Day, but you've done all the prep work. And literally Labor Day Tuesday, you're on the market, or that week you're on the market, or maybe you go on the market before the holiday weekend because a lot of schools are going back in session.
Yep.
And people tend to travel less on Labor Day than Memorial Day and 4th of July. You might catch lightning in a bottle. So my whole thing here is, and we've talked a lot about prep work here on this show, is you got to be prepping as a seller, you got to be prepping as a buyer, and you got to have someone giving you the right advice on the other side, and who's taking their business seriously in the month of August instead of going down the shore and drinking orange crushes and margaritas all day and not coming in the office maybe 2-3 days a week. So, and unfortunately this happens in real estate every year, but this is business owners too. I mean, everyone tends to back off in August, and if you're going to take time off, like, make it a good week or make it a good 10 days and then get back into momentum. So when things do return to normal, like they do every September, especially in the Northeast, you're not trying to get your momentum and your mojo back, because momentum takes so much time to gain.
Yes.
And you can lose it very quickly.
Isn't that the truth?
I mean, a couple bad weeks can take you right off your game. And that's just because your mindset's not in it. So you got someone that's struggling with their mindset now, Stacey, and this could go for a client or for an agent. I mean, what advice are you giving them?
Well, sit down and write down your goals. You have to get your mindset right. So how do you do that? What's your motivation? What are your goals? Where are you trying to get to? Is it you just want a little bit more, personal freedom a couple years later in life? Do you want to be debt free? Are you trying to, buy a new car? What is your goal? And then from there, you have to map and plan a course of action. Because like you said, if you don't have a plan in place, you really don't know what direction you're going. So how do you know how many people you have to talk to every day? How many appointments do you have to go on? How many people do you have to come in contact? I think it's really important. You have to know those numbers so that you have a clear direction. So mindset is all about knowing where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And it is about being positive.
Well, once you're negative, I mean, you already gave up. Once you have that negative self-talk, I mean, when you start changing the words you use, like I should have done that, or I would have done that instead. I will, right? I mean, just make it I do too. You know how I feel about that stuff. I mean, there's words I've removed from my vocabulary because it's damaging. So I agree with that. And consumers should be doing the same thing. And the case study I'll share with you about prepping, and it's funny you say this, because I look at, my most recent home purchase with my wife. She didn't even see the home, number one. Like we couldn't go look at it. She didn't see it. We did a drive-by. That was fine. On top of it, they had a floor plan done of the property because the pictures were horrible. And the floor plan, it was totally different. So that extra prep work that the agent took there and did those things, that got someone to buy it without seeing it. So if you're a buyer out there, this happens. And I think you need to, instead of think, well, it's always been done that you look in person. 2020 never happened before. 2021 is the year of the pivot, right? That's the word of the year. So at least in my view. So if you're pivoting, you got to pivot your search. And for a seller, I'd be doing the same thing. Over prepping, making sure those digital assets are there. You have the right things so that someone can buy it virtually, because people just, they value their time more. And, they're in a space where they're okay buying homes in this way. I mean, this never happened before. That shouldn't say never, happened rarely. I mean, I'm talking about, I can remember one time before 2020 where someone bought a home sight unseen that I can think of. Other than that, and that's now, this isn't a vacation market either. This is the greater Philadelphia area. So knowing that this happens now, you've got to write down your goals. This goes for everybody, agents and consumers. Have a clear path, know what you need to do to achieve them. And part of that might be being flexible and adjusting how you think you need to do things to what's going to work for you in the marketplace. Virtual tours, video tours, those sort of things. And if you do that, you're going to be able to have a successful August and continue the momentum, because there's going to be more homes hitting the market in the fall. I mean, it happens every year. But if you're already mentally out and then you see that home and you're like, oh, maybe we should go look at it, you're not in the search, right? And the biggest pain point right now is certainly buyers. And the same thing goes for the sellers that got to find a home to buy. Or, if you're a seller, just be flexible and say, you know what, if I don't know what I want to see, I'm willing to go somewhere temporarily. I mean, this is the pivots that people need to make to win in the marketplace. And it goes for everybody here. So what I'm hearing is you're not taking off in August, although you did go away for the weekend last weekend.
2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. Yeah. Big
2 days.
Yeah, big time off there for Stacey. So I also took off 2 days, but again, it's over the weekend. So what? And any parting advice here for the month of August? We got about a minute and a half left, 2 minutes here. Anything else agents should be thinking about? Anything you saw from this sort of mindset, or anything consumers should be thinking about right now?
I think that August is a prime time to take advantage of the so-called downtime. For agents, it's great. There's so much opportunity for your buyers out there on the market. There's, look for houses that have been on the market 7 to 10 days. And you're right, Tom, about the inspection contingencies. I got buyers under contract at asking price with full inspections. I mean, what in this market?
Unheard of 3 months ago.
So there is opportunity. So, you got to look for the opportunity. It's out there. Just because it's August, doesn't change much. You have to continue to drive. For sellers, yes, please do get into, if you're planning to hit the market in September, definitely start talking to agents now. You definitely want to prepare. There is a lot involved. You need a couple of weeks at least to get the best launch for your home sale, to get the best results, because you don't want to leave any money on the table. So interview the agents, get your prep work done at home, and that way you'll be ready to hit the market at the beginning of September, which is prime time. And like Tom said already, that weekend, Labor Day weekend, could be when your home sells.
Especially if the kids are back in school. So, And for the agents out there, get your head straight and get with the right people. They're going to level you up. That's the best advice I have, no matter what that is. So on that note, that's it for Toole Time Radio this week. Another great show. Thank you to Nick. Thanks to Brett. Thanks to the whole team here. If you want to follow us, Stacey is on Instagram at the number 2 Mitchco. I am at Tom Toole 3RD, at Tom Toole the third. You can follow our team on Facebook at Tom Toole Sales Group, or watch the live stream on YouTube. And that's what we got this week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.